Hey, Bruce, I'm so glad that you took a little time to talk with us today, but tell us about yourself.
Well, my name's Bruce Johnson, and uh, have been, I'll tell you a little bit about my life, my professional life. I'm married to my wife, Penny Johnson, of 31 years, and we have one son, Joshua. He's
Yeah.
29 years old. He's an engineer, and I was an engineer once.
Uh-huh.
I started out in my career as being a nuclear engineer, working at nuclear power plants.
Yeah.
And eventually, I went back to school and got a PhD in biological engineering. But it was modeling, mathematical modeling is what it's all about. I made a mathematical model of the human cardiovascular system. But I took that knowledge and worked in corporate industry for another 10 years until one day, as I was leaving work, I felt like something odd was going on with me, and I had a massive brain hemorrhage.
Oh.
And when I started to get in my car and drive off, I noticed I couldn't control my car, so I pulled off in a car sales parking lot and opened my door and fell out on the parking lot. And they called 911 and airlifted me to Memphis, St. Francis, and I stayed there for 45 days.
How long ago was that, Bruce?
That was in March 2nd of 2010.
2010.
It's 9 years ago. But so I'm a miracle here. They gave me 2% chance of living while I was there, so I'm a living miracle. And on more than one occasion, but occasion that'll bring me up to, I guess, the story I want to tell you.
Yeah.
One day, started acting odd. My wife noticed my speech was slurring, and I was not able to keep focus on anything. So she called our nurse, and the nurse said, call 911 because my blood pressure was starting to drop.
Yeah.
So she called 911. Ambulance took me to the emergency room, and I was in kidneys shutting down. My kidneys were shutting down, and I had blood pressure about 40 over 28, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was dying,
Yeah.
and my mortgage and everything was trying to shut down and prepare for death.
Yeah.
And like I say, I had kidney failure, and my core temperature had dropped down to 94 degrees. And they were trying to figure out, the hospital was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. They thought it was something in my kidneys that was causing the problem, so they tried to get a CT scan on my kidneys.
Yeah.
While they were trying to get the scan, I was so unstable that they couldn't scan me. My body was not stable enough to be scanned. So I heard someone say, scrap it, and meaning scrap the scan. And that's the last thing I heard before I went to meet Jesus.
Yeah. Well, so you arrested. I mean, you died.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So.
Yes, I died.
That may be Bruce. Is that you?
It
Ringing?
is.
Okay.
It's me ringing. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So you arrested, and then you didn't know what happened, but they did CPR on you and put you on a
Yes.
ventilator.
Yes,
so,
they did.
And you were really dead.
I was really dead. And immediately, the moment that they said scrap it on the CT scan, I left my body just like that.
Yes.
It was just like a rocket took off with me in it. It was going so fast that everything just disappeared into the distance. And I was in a tunnel and passageway, and I was going full speed ahead in that tunnel. And it's a one-way tunnel where I couldn't go back to the entrance, couldn't get out. I was just propelling forward through that tunnel, not on my own accord. But
Did you see anything at that point, or was it just darkness? What was
I actually saw several things. I saw the tunnel was almost like this very bright, shiny substance it was made of. It's just so beautiful, actually. And I noticed that I was going towards something that was bright, toward the far in the distance in the tunnel. But as I was going through the tunnel, I started seeing things like I saw my life. It didn't flash before me, but I saw it where it was just floating past me, almost like where I could reach out and touch it. It's really strange. But I saw all my events in my life, and I saw things that I could see the emotions, things like that you normally can't see or tell just by visualizing, but I could visualize all of these things as I was going through the tunnel. And I started seeing, after I went through the tunnel, just for a few more seconds, I started seeing what looked like a transparency in the tunnel, where I could see outside, and it seemed like there were bright lights, stars maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's something like stars. There, it could have been that outer space that I was seeing. But I went into another dimension. I could tell I'd left 3 dimensions where I was some other dimension that I was in as I was going through the tunnel. And I think I called myself a multidimensional person then, or spirit, because that was my spirit going. And as I continued through the tunnel, I noticed the light at the end got brighter and brighter and brighter. And things I noticed about the tunnel, I noticed there was nobody else in it. It was private. It was just like a private thing just for me. And I could only, like I said before, I could only go forward in it. And as I propelled toward the end of the tunnel, I came out of the tunnel and saw Jesus Christ right at the end of the tunnel. And all I could do when I came out of the tunnel, I noticed in my periphery, I noticed other tunnels with other people or the spirits coming out those tunnels. But when I saw Jesus, all I could do is just, my spiritual man just sort of fell on his face and worship. That's all I could do is worship Jesus.
Was he standing or sitting?
He was standing.
He was standing.
He was standing there. And like I say, all I could do is worship. I didn't think about asking to go see anybody like that, or can I go see someone that's gone on before. None of that crossed my mind. The only thing that crossed my mind was worshiping Christ. And that's all I could do. And after I worshiped Christ for a while, I noticed I got a really sick feeling. My spirit just groaned. And as my spirit groaned, it was realizing that I couldn't stay. I could not stay there with Christ. Something was going to take me back. And my spirit was groaning just because it was going to be such a hard process to go back. But as I was going back, I could tell I didn't go through a tunnel to come back, but I just came back into my body. And as I was coming back into my body, I started noticing pain I was having again. I had not felt the pain while I was in the tunnel, and I have chronic pain, post-stroke central pain syndrome after my brain hemorrhage. That's uncontrollable almost. So I did not notice that once I went into the tunnel. But when I came back, I noticed that pain again. And I was very sad. I woke up a couple of days later. After that, I still was aware that I was there alive. But I woke up a couple of days later, still on the ventilator they had put me on. And all I wanted to do is just cry because I was there and I could not go back to see Christ again. But my wife needed me to be here at this time, and Christ knew that. So I actually, after a few days, accepted that I should be back here. But it took several days, and I actually went into depression because of it. And but it was a joyous experience, and it's one that I will never forget. And I've given you a short version of my story. But there are so many other details to it. And I'm a Christian, and of course I believe that's why I went to see Christ, is because I'm a Christian. And I encourage you, if you don't know Christ, to accept Him. All you have to do is believe that He died their sins, died, and arose after 3 days, victorious over death, hell, and the grave. And if you believe that in your heart, that Christ was risen and died for your sins, then if you truly believe it, you'll be saved.
Yes.
And that's a message I definitely want to give.
But you were an engineer, and you were just such a brilliant person. And would this make any sense to most of the world, that this would be really real?
Most of the world, it probably wouldn't seem real to most of the world, but I'm sure that other people had similar experiences,
Yeah.
but that could probably relate. But to me, it was actually became very logical because of being a Christian, and the death experience made sense the way it was structured, because I was in my own private tunnel or passageway.
Yeah.
That was private to me. Death is very private.
Yeah.
No one else is there.
Yeah.
It's just for me alone. It was blocked where I could not go back out. I could only go forward through the tunnel or the passageway. Once I got to the end of the tunnel, I saw Christ, and all of that made sense to me
Yeah.
as a Christian.
Are you looking forward to going to heaven again?
Yes, I am. I'm really looking forward to it, and I have no fear of death
That's great.
because of that.
We
because of
really
the
appreciate
experience.
you sharing with us today, Bruce, and I hope that it'll touch somebody's life, because heaven is for real.
It is. Heaven is very real.
Yeah.
Heaven's very real.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.